So this girl begged for her life while being tortured and the entire neighborhood ignored her. This is Sylvia Likens. She's 16 and from Indiana. It's the 1960s and Sylvia's parents, Lester and Elizabeth, worked as carnival workers. And by worked, I mean they barely made enough money to survive, let alone raise kids. They were always on the road, so Sylvia and her younger sister Jenny, who had polio and wore a leg brace, usually stayed with their grandparents. But one day, Sylvia's mum got arrested for shoplifting. So Lester made what might be the worst parenting decision in American history. He left Sylvia and Jenny with a woman named Gertrude. She said she'd treat the girls like her own kids. Now Gertrude, she was 37 years old, but looked like she'd been a chain smoker since birth. She had 7 kids, no money, and a house that looked like a dump. 3 failed marriages and a bunch of miscarriages. And her 17-year-old daughter, Paula, she was pregnant with a married guy. She was angry, broke, and spiraling. Lester agreed to pay her $20 a week to watch the girls, which was a lot of money back then. But when one of those payments came in late, Gertrude lost her shit. That's when she grabbed a paddle and beat the girls while screaming, "I just took care of you bitches for nothing." And then the check showed up the next day. However, by then, she discovered something she liked more than money: being an absolute bitch. And poor Sylvia got the worst of it, because Gertrude started turning her own kids into psychopaths. They would push Sylvia off the chair and say she wasn't fit to sit on a chair. She literally had to ask for permission before sitting on a chair. And Paula, the pregnant one, straight up punched Sylvia in the face so hard that she broke her wrist. And then she blamed Sylvia for it. Then you've got Stephanie, the other daughter. She would beat Sylvia, feel bad about it, but then she would beat her up again. Even the 12-year-old son, John, joined in. And he would practice judo moves on Sylvia. Oh, and it gets worse, because this guy, Coy, he's Paula's boyfriend. He would come over specifically to beat Sylvia like she was a punching bag. I guess he wasn't ready to be a stepdad. And it didn't stop there. This guy, Richard, a 14-year-old neighbor, also joined in. And he would burn Sylvia with cigarettes, whilst Gertrude would encourage it. Sylvia was starved so badly, she started eating garbage. And instead of helping, Gertrude and Paula were like, ugh, that's gross. Let's make it worse. Then they forced her to eat a hot dog stuffed with mustard, ketchup, and every condiment in the house. When Sylvia threw up, they made her eat her own vomit. And this wasn't just some secret basement abuse. Gertrude was literally inviting the neighbors to watch. This wasn't a house. It was a DIY torture circus. They even made Jenny, her own sister, beat her. And Jenny, terrified and powerless, did it because she didn't want to be next. Things got even more insane. They burned Sylvia's skin with cigarettes over 100 times. They cut her open, forced her to take boiling hot baths, so hot that she would pass out from the pain. The girl was being cooked alive, and the people around her acted like it was a normal Tuesday. One day, Gertrude forced Sylvia to strip naked in the living room. They made her shove a glass Pepsi bottle into herself in front of other teenagers. Why? Because Gertrude said to prove to Jenny what kind of girl you are. Eventually, Sylvia wasn't even allowed to go to school. She had stolen gym clothes because Gertrude refused to buy them. So Gertrude punished her by whipping her with a police belt and burning her fingertips on the stove. And then Gertrude decided Sylvia belonged in the basement. They tied her up like an animal. Sylvia tried to escape once, pulled to the front door, but collapsed before she could get outside. Gertrude beat her in the head with a blunt object until she passed out. Down in the basement, Jenny managed to sneak in and check on her sister. That's when Sylvia looked at her and said, "I know I'm going to die." Sylvia tried banging on the walls, screaming, begging anyone to help. And the neighbors, they heard her and just turned the volume up on their TV. Because God forbid child torture ruin your soap opera. Eventually, Gertrude and Richard grabbed a heated needle and carved these words into Sylvia's stomach: "I'm a prostitute and proud of it." On October 26, 1965, Sylvia Likens died. Her official cause of death was brain hemorrhage and shock. But let's be real, she was murdered by Gertrude, her psychotic family, a bunch of neighborhood kids, and a community that did absolutely nothing. Gertrude tried to cover it up with a fake note, claiming Sylvia had run away and gotten injured. But Jenny was done. She got to a cop and whispered, "Get me out of it and I'll tell you everything." Gertrude was arrested. So were Paula, John, Coy, Richard, and Stephanie. Gertrude got life in prison, then got paroled in 1985 because apparently torturing a child to death gets you a second chance. She died in 1990, quietly under a new name. Sylvia didn't get that option. 17-year-old Paula was convicted of second-degree murder and was released in 1972 after only 7 years in jail. 15-year-old Stephanie was initially charged with murder, but they were dropped after she agreed to testify against the others. John, 12 years old, was sent to juvenile detention and was released when he was 21 years old. Sylvia's final words before she died was, "I wish my daddy was here." And the worst part, she knew no one was coming to save her. Sylvia could have been saved, but she was let down by the system and an entire neighborhood. She lost her life because someone hated her for her beauty and potential. Let this be a lesson that if you see someone in need, always be the first to help, because that could be you, your child, or anyone close to you that's in danger.